When I heard Lackadaisy was based off a webcomic, I was a little hesitant to watch it. Is this an animation only fans of the comic will understand? Is this going to be a project where I have to catch up on the story before watching the 30-minute pilot? I went into this cold, completely unaware of the massive Lackadaisy universe Tracy Butler has been building since 2006. The film opens up with text telling you you're in St. Louis, Missouri in 1927. Prohibition is in full effect. And that's all you need to know. I won't spoil the story here. Everyone is talking about how great the animation is, and rightfully so. But the animation itself wouldn't be nearly as successful without the power of the script and story giving our cats a reason to be animated in the first place. The story, voice acting, soundtrack, background art, and animation are all top tier. Over 160 artists worked on this remotely from around the world. It's inspiring to see a real work of grit and art being made in a time of massive studio layoffs, AI dystopian nonsense, and streaming services nuking their legacy animated series and canceling new projects in favor of endless reboots. The great thing about independent animation is no one can cancel it. It just takes one person in the studio hierarchy not liking you or your idea to cancel your dream. But with a fan-funded project you build with your community, there's no one besides yourself standing in your way of completing it. People want fresh animation. Lackadaisy got 6.5 million views after its first 2 weeks being published on YouTube. It helps that Lackadaisy had a dedicated fan base to launch this project to. The webcomic's been building an audience for nearly 2 decades. The success of this animation didn't come out of nowhere. The creators set up a farm before they reaped a harvest. The seeds had been planted years ago, and the audience was being nurtured and cared for over time. This fan-funded project garnered 500,000 new subscribers. It reached its 85,000 Kickstarter goal in just 6 hours when it launched in 2020. And if you remember March of 2020, that's when the world kinda shut down. Despite the dire state of the world, the project was ultimately funded for $330,000 and backed by 6,000 supporters. And it was further sustained by additional support on Patreon. The animators had to learn to work together remotely from around the world using Discord. This allowed for the opportunity for all the artists to be able to see what every single person was working on, inspiring friendly competition and swapping production methods to learn animation tips from each other. This highly online community was super active on Twitter, so there was a built-in marketing machine from these passionate artists sharing some of their work in progress to their own built-in audiences. People want new animation by real artists with their own unique vision. Streaming services need to realize there's a market for original animation to tell new stories. 2D animation isn't dead. You can feel the passion and love put into every hand-drawn frame of Lackadaisy. There's a few things that stuck out to me from the art style of Lackadaisy. Obviously, the animation itself is highly professional. When you think web series or internet animation, you might think of very limited movement or cheap-looking character designs. But Lackadaisy oozes appeal. The drawings are solid and have a 3D form to them. The respect for draftsmanship is apparent. The character animation feels modern, but with a touch of Bronze Age Disney animation when xerography was being used to cut costs and save time. The scratchy look of the drawings reminds me of the Aristocats, Robin Hood, and the Rescuers. Xerography was viewed in a mostly negative light by audiences at the time, but many people nowadays are nostalgic for this tactile look in an age where 2D vector animation often looks so clean and crisp that it feels less real. The muted color palettes of the background art in the nighttime scenes contrast against the vibrant colors of the cats and their glowing eyes. And the cats themselves are drawn with a level of anatomical detail that shouldn't be taken for granted. It would have been easier and perhaps more appropriate for the 1920s setting to draw in a more rubber hose style, with simplified circle shapes and noodly limbs. Yet the cats are given a high level of detail for hand-drawn character animation, where every nuance of the hairs and crease in the clothing has to be drawn over and over. An interesting stylistic choice was to leave the rough construction lines in certain shots. This distracted me at first, as seeing the construction circles around the cat's faces drew attention to itself, but I quickly got immersed back into the drama of the story. There's also some paint boiling going on to replicate the look of traditional hand-painted cells. There seems to be a boiling texture overlay on the flat colors of the cats to achieve this look. On top of all this, the line quality of the inking stage has a lot of variety. The lines aren't perfect vector drawings with even width. There's thin against thick, and a general roughness to the finished ink work to further sell the handmade look. Even though the animation is drawn digitally, the combination of all these subtle effects and techniques makes something greater than the sum of its parts. These anthropomorphized cats move and behave like cats when appropriate. They're hunting alcohol, not mice or catnip, and they're driving cars, not hiding in boxes. They behave like people, but just when you're about to forget these people are also felines, they'll react to something in a way only a cat would, and it's really funny to see that feral cat side take over. This is just a first impressions overview of what I thought about Lackadaisy. In short, I loved it. I'm probably going to make a more in-depth animation analysis video on Lackadaisy, so be sure to stay tuned for that one. If you're watching this in the future and I've already done that animation analysis vid, it'll be linked in the pinned comment. In the meantime, you can watch the animation analysis video I did on my good old friend Knuckles from Sonic Frontiers. Go watch Lackadaisy if you haven't yet. It's amazing. I can't wait to see what the future holds for this series. Thanks so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more 2D animation and art talks, and I'll see you later.